All right, freaks, psychopaths, Bitcoiners, people coming to learn about Bitcoin, pre-coiners, no-coiners, everyone. We have some special friends here, some special guests. We've had Nathan on the last couple of shows, but now we have Mr. Gary Mahmood and Mr. Ben Perrin himself. So, boys, gentlemen, it's good to see you. And I know, Gary, you need to run. We're going to talk about Ray Dalio and his changing world order. And I guess Ray is an agent of some state, some nation state. We don't know quite who yet, but he seems to think that we're going to a Chinese world here. So, Gary, I would love your thoughts just in general. A little rundown. This Family Day, President's Day, what's going on there?
You can call me Ray. I mean, Gary's my fiat name, so I'm trying to move away from that in our future liberated Bitcoin world. I don't have anything much to say aside from it's par for the course. This is stuff that Bitcoiners have been talking about for over a decade, and people who are even gold bugs before us have been talking about. Eventually, the new world order has to break down. We talk about the fourth turning, that's constantly in like the Bitcoin adjacent milieu. I mean, anybody that's familiar with that knows that this is, if you buy into it, it goes in cycles, and we're at the fourth turning now where the old world orders have to break down. When does it officially happen? What's the tipping point? I saw Ray on Tucker, I think, and he was asking him what's going to be the official sign when you know that we've reached that point. And Ray said, well, you'll know it once it's passed and we can look back on it. So I don't know.
Sounds like defining porn.
Yeah. Exactly. We know when we see it. Unfortunately, nobody can actually predict it. Like, aha, this is the time. It happened when we saw China move ships near Taiwan. That was the moment. And now it's all different. I don't know, guys. Stack, hodl, just, keep your loved ones safe. Maybe stay armed. Maybe get a second passport. Things to think about.
Just saying. Yeah, no, it's so true. All right, I'm going to go to Ben here because Nathan, he's been on the last couple shows, so people can kind of know what he's been babbling about. But Ben, how about you? Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, good to see you as well, man. I mean, Ray is, as Gary said, outlining everything that Bitcoiners have been privy to for ages and gold bugs before them. And and Gary, you're right. It's perfectly in line with the whole idea of the fourth turning. In the fourth turning, they talk about how there's going to be this decay of trust in all of our institutions. And for Ray Dalio to come out and basically say like, hey, everything is broken. The rules-based global order has broken down. What greater indication of a decay of trust in our institutions than that? He's saying nothing is working as it seems. And that's kind of the consensus with everyone on any side of any political aisle right now. No matter who you talk to, everybody knows and feels that everything is horrible, and they're not wrong. So this is, Ray is looking at the sky and saying it is blue, and everybody's nodding very violently, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Nathan, thoughts?
Oh geez, where to begin? So nothing, echo the same sort of sentiment. Nothing here is really new or out of the ordinary, and it's very much like the path that we've been on. And this fourth turning definitely lines up with Ray Dalio's credit cycle theory, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful explanation of the underlying problems with fiat and the way we kind of get off the curve there. And so the only part that I always disagree with him on is that he keeps hoisting up Beijing and China as this new powerhouse that's emerging as the new world leader. It's going to dethrone the U.S. Empire. And I don't think that's true. I think Simon Dixon's take in more of the multipolar world is actually where we're moving to. Do I think that China's going to take Taiwan? Totally. And maybe a few other areas in the region. They're going to be basically the center of power for their part of the world. But beyond that, it's not like they're going to reach across and take Hawaii and take California or wherever else they're going to necessarily go. They're not going to have the ability to be a global empire. And I don't think really anyone at this point in time does. I think we're seeing that break down. That centralization always kind of falls apart, and it's very expensive, very costly to do. So China as the new world power, kind of in standing, right? They may rise to the point where they're more or less equals with the US, and they're getting pretty close as it is, but I don't think they're going to necessarily surpass or take over from that point. I mean, they got their own whole host of issues with their own currency as well as their demographics too, right? You're going to see as people get wealthier and wealthier there as well, as they get risen out of poverty, that they're going to have more demands on their government as well too, which is going to create some instability. You got a giant slug from the one-child policy. It's going to create a whole host of problems for them as well. So I don't see them as like a paper tiger, but they're definitely not going to take over the world. I think that's necessarily wrong. I'm not sure if China's paying its bags or is just really impressed with the robotics or their ability to steal kind of information. What is it? Intellectual property. I'm not sure, but I don't see China as the threat. I think they're going to live in their own little corner of the world. I think that's the way that it's probably better in that sort of sitting, that sort of area. And the other thing too is that when you have this like semi-communist country, then we look at the same problems they have with any sort of price fixing, right? They have any sort of price fixing. If they actually move to any sort of the areas of the economy that are state controlled, we know those aren't as efficient as a capitalistic as a free market. So it's going to create their own headaches and problems. And it reminds me of the Soviet Union, where everyone was so worried about this growing behemoth and then it just collapsed in on itself. And everyone's kind of caught off guard by it. It's like, yeah, because you can't fuck with prices and you can't fuck with people for that long. It creates underlying issues and instability. So changing world order, yeah, but I don't think it's China. I think it's multipolar. I think we are going to go through that fourth turning of the big credit cycle, and it'll be interesting to see how things move in the future. But I think it's going to be multipolar. I don't think we're going to see one person, one country reign supreme.
Quick question for you before I got to go. I'm sorry to jump in, Brandon. If China in this multipolar world is East Asia and we are Oceania, who is Eurasia?
That's definitely going to be Russia.
Is it? I mean, they're not that rich, but they've got the nukes.
They've got the nukes and they've got the resources, but it's a very good point there, Gary. Like the one that I like, I wonder about like the Middle East and places like Dubai too. They're doing a really good job attracting capital and kind of being the safe haven for we'll say the more entrepreneurial spirited. And I think that's where you're seeing like capital flight from like the UK and Europe is going into places like Dubai. And so what if they're going to end up being a power in that area of the world, even surpassing necessarily Russia, or maybe they'll just become really good friends, right? The board is going to look different. And the thing that always bugs me too, shout out to the Alberta Independence people, is that this idea that the borders have to stay the same is ridiculous to me. Like geographical arbitrary lines have changed so many times. You think we're going to go through like a major credit cycle, a major asset like devaluation and bubble bursting, a major geopolitical realignment, and the borders won't change, that those lines on the map will stay the exact same, those arbitrary lines on the map will stay the exact same. Like I got bad news for the folks in Ukraine. I think that's probably getting absorbed into Russia. And I think that's just the beginning of the way that these things kind of shift over time. Taiwan as well, too. You can pretend to be a separate place from China, but I don't think they're going to let you do that for much longer. Not that I'm advocating or I want these sort of things. I just think it's the way that they're moving.
Spicy. I like that. I like it. Yeah.
All right. I got to go, gents. I'm sorry to just throw that grenade out there and leave, but I'll catch up later. Thank you so much for having me on, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah.
Cheers,
Thanks, Gary.
Later, Gary. We'll talk soon.
So, and Ben, I'd love your thoughts on this. What do you like? I don't know if anyone read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, but in there they talk about just even the difference between like they're using like a New York City air traffic control versus like someone in Asia, and just like we can't. I was in this culture like we don't talk about the dynamics of personality, just how people are different all over the world, et cetera, et cetera. And the Asian culture tends to be more compliance, whatever. And like it feels like, and again, this is just from a very high level, like they need us, like we need them type of world. They're like, we buy a lot of stuff over here in the West, so it's like. Obviously, they can find new people and they're trying to work on stuff. I get it. And they're building ports. So like people can make those arguments. But at the same time, that the culture leads me to believe more that it's, they want America, need America almost as some type of people that can help them just with the manufacturing and or buying the stuff, I should say, not manufacturing. But that to me just feels like more of that world where I don't know if they want to go take over the world and they're looking to do that. But it's more of like, hey, we're out here doing a thing just economically. We want to do whatever. Because they have a history of doing the burning the treasure fleet and all this stuff of like sabotaging themselves more than like, anything else. So anyway, I would love, your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is this kind of mutual need for each other. The U.S., the middle class has been hollowed out. It is a consumerist culture. Nothing is built in the U.S. anymore because it's too expensive to do so. And so you need this behemoth of manufacturing somewhere else where the products can be built cheaper. And it's interesting because in a way, now that the exorbitant privilege of being the country with the world reserve currency is kind of getting to its final form where because the middle class has been hollowed out, but it is consumerist in nature. There's people can no longer consume as much. They don't have the means to do so, and wealth is concentrating at the top, and it's becoming a problem. And I wonder over time how we kind of see this play out, because the end game is there's only really one playbook that makes sense for the government itself to do, and that's just to print, baby, print. And I don't like, austerity is not an option. Nobody's gonna vote for that, and everybody in office is directly incentivized to say, here's free stuff, so that I can get in for another term, and then the next guy will deal with it. And so it's in no situation do I see somebody getting in there, making meaningful change, and then being able to stick around and actually follow through on it. I mean, look, Doge, look at Doge. Like it was like, okay,
fun.
yeah, you know,
and
for a hot second, there was a maybe they will actually meaningfully change things and actually, like put a dent in it at least. And it's not even close. Like it barely made a scratch. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the trajectory that we're on. However, I think that China's just at a different period of time in the same general trajectory, right? Like they're making stuff. They've got a good base of people that don't make a lot of money. They maybe turn their heads to just general like working conditions and there's sweatshops and things like that they'll turn a blind eye to, and internment camps and all kinds of stuff that maybe wouldn't fly the further west you get, and depending on where you are. But I think eventually, again, like how many people over the past number of decades have been lifted out of absolute poverty in China. And I think that trajectory will continue, but then those people are also going to want to be more consumers than the factory level workers. And so does that then compound on itself? Because in a world where the monetary base is static, and you are a blue collar worker, you've got perhaps an hourly wage. And when you take that contract, that employment contract, you understand what that means for purchasing power. But with fiat, that contract is basically instantly reneged upon. Within a calendar year, your purchasing power is less than when you started. And so you have to, beg and plead to maintain your standard of living. In a world with a static monetary base, the blue collar worker is the roles are reversed, where you're more in a position of power. And the reason that is okay, I understand my purchasing power now with my set wage. Over time, the money allows me to have a greater purchasing power because humanity is more efficient at building things. And so I can buy more. There's more abundant stuff with the same amount of money. And so the employer is then put in the position of, if they deem that the worker has not added as much value as the amount of purchasing power that they've gained through the appreciation of the currency, then it's on the employer to decide, do we try to negotiate this person's wage down, knowing that if they decide to quit and go somewhere else, we will then have to put in money to training their replacement. It just changes that whole dynamic. And so I right now in fiat land, I think you're just kind of screwed. You're just set in whatever your wage is, and you're constantly earning less, and you're constantly have to not only argue to be able to maintain your living, but to even maintain your job, because AI is just going to replace you if it's something menial, right? So I don't know. I know that was a long rant, but holy crap.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like, I remember when when Trump got elected, I had like people that were asking me, they're like, well, what do you think? Like, how, because the Doge, right? All these things were like, people had these high hopes of like whatever. And it's like, you got to delete 99% of the government, like immediately, like day one, like executive order, all the government agency is gone, administration is gone, whatever. And it's like, clearly that's not going to happen. Like you're not going to fire 3 million federal employees overnight. There would literally be civil war in the streets. Like it would, it's like we are so beyond the pale, like across the event horizon, that it's like, how do you put it back on the tracks? Like, is there any way to, and it's like the Ray Dalios of the world and some of these guys, it's like, are we willfully just like not going to acknowledge the elephant in the room of like the money? Like I was making this argument the other day of like, Nathan, you and I might even talked about this recently, like the Candace Owens of the world, or the Tucker Carlsons, or the Ian Carrolls, and you go down, like there's other people that have become huge since like the Charlie Kirk stuff. They're trying to find like who shot Carl, like, was Erica Kirk involved? It's like, you're asking the wrong questions. Like, does it matter at this point? Like, why and how did he get shot? Not like who shot him. And it's like, we're just like willfully, like we won't, and those people are so sinister because they're close to the target, but they're not over the target. So like their shrapnel doesn't affect the target. And they're more sinister because the people above the controlling the money printer love it, because you have intelligent people who make incoherent arguments, and they distract and chasing shiny objects down rabbit holes that are around the target, but they're not over the target. And most of society is like in the other country. They're not even close to the target, so it's like, it's so sinister that no one's like, we're just willfully just going to ignore the thing sourcing all of the problems. It's mind blowing. I don't know. It's
absolutely crazy, dude. It's absolutely crazy, because you're right. We're like cats with a laser pointer, right? They keep distracting us with all these things going on, but they're not actually hitting on what's really important too. It's funny. There's one thing I was pulling on. So I was looking at the article here, and one of the things that Dalio hits on is basically making the argument that we are in late stage 5, marked by financial strain, populism, and eroding international norms. Seems about right. We're taking over Venezuela. We might buy Greenland. Things are getting a little bit wacky out there. And the next stage we're approaching is stage 6, a phase potential civil war or international wars where might makes right replaces enforceable rules. And the point about enforceable rules really stuck out to me, because that's why we keep going back to this, right? Is that it's basically whoever is the strongest at the player at the table gets to set the rules, sets the order, and we continue from there. We go the cycle over and over and over again, because it's always going to deteriorate and fall apart. And there's two things that kind of relate in that. Is one, this idea, even going back to the difference in Chinese cost for manufacturing. Well, that's just an arbitrage on the currency, essentially, that we have a country with a stronger dollar buying labor from a country with a cheaper dollar, right? But if you have a unified currency between the two, that arbitrage will eventually just be completely squeaked out. It won't matter anymore, right? And you're seeing this with the digital nomad sort of setup, where people are going to different areas of the world where they can get a good would say their cost of living is much lower. They can have a better lifestyle, but then they're earning from somewhere else. Whether they're getting US dollars and living and working somewhere like in Mexico, or even like for Ben and myself getting paid in Bitcoin. Doesn't really matter where you are in the world. But the more that you have a single currency between the different countries, the more that spread is just going to get narrow and narrow and narrow, right? And both sides kind of benefit from too. We talked about like the enormous privilege of being the global reserve currency, but it's hollowing out the middle class, right? And you have that same issue, like whereas basically the cost is basically the jobs in manufacturing on the US side for this trade. And for on the Chinese side of it too, is like, well, you're giving away your actual resources, and what are you getting back? Depreciating dollars and treasuries. Like, no one really wants to stay in this position, because when you don't have a fair trade, when you have these other kind of distortions in the market, you're getting screwed on one side of the table or another. But again, you move to something like, and this would explain also why they're all stockpiling gold to the high heavens, is that if you do have a unified currency, well, then all these kind of splits, they'll narrow down over time. China might not be the manufacturing powerhouse in the world if we're all using the same currency to denominate our labor and our goods and our services. And then going back to the idea that from the stage 6, replaces the enforceable rules. That's why I have such hope that Bitcoin actually ends this stupid cycle, is because no longer is it might makes right that enforces the rules. If our base communication for value, the rules are enforced by the network itself, it's rules without rulers, then maybe we get off this stupid cycle, this debt cycle, this, what do you call it, generational cycle, this crisis cycle, whatever it may be. We're done because we fixed the underlying problem. It reminds me, it's a wonderful analogy. It reminds me of basically Neo being like the anomaly in the Matrix, that they couldn't get rid of that mathematical anomaly, and so just play it out over and over and over again. And if we don't fix the money, the same thing will happen again. We'll go through the same cycle again. People will be looking back 200 years and pointing to Ray Dalio's work and be like, he figured it out then, but we didn't have a solution. No, we do. We can actually fix the anomaly. The anomaly is the money, but you're right. No one wants to talk about it because there's so many powerful people in play here that benefit from the existing system, and they want to keep themselves at the top of that hierarchy. It's funny. I did a podcast with David Cullum that I'm going to release tomorrow as well too. And he's definitely a Bitcoiner, but not a Bitcoiner. But we're going to pull him in. We're going to pull him in. We're going to actually get him on Team Bitcoin at some point in time. He is for sure rooting for us. But one of his pushbacks on it is he basically said, like, if you guys are right, that means that Max and Stacy replace the Rockefellers, and they're never going to let that happen. And I agree that if we are right, it doesn't mean like Max Kaiser replaces the Rockefellers potentially, and they don't want to let that happen. But if we can actually pull it off, whether or not they can actually stop it is the real question. We do go to a whole new world order, and I think a better one. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I agree with everything that you're kind of positing. Like that is the general trajectory. But you did also point out that, you know, if in the example of the Matrix, it's like there were many that came before, right? And so is this the tipping point? Like in my head, I'm like, if this doesn't work, then I don't know what the hell will, right? And it's one of those moments where it's like, well, you want to be part of the people that are trying to fix the problem, not perpetuating it. And it's also painful for those that are in it, because even though it has been a short period of time, Bitcoin 17 years, when you're living through it and you're seeing the obvious, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. How do people not see what this is doing and the second order effects of it and everything? And when you have to sit through that year after year after year, and the ebbs and the flows of people coming in and the tourists and all that, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. You need some solid mental fortitude to be able to sit through that and navigate it. But yeah, I think you're right. It's just how quickly will we be right? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, to that point, I was talking to Parker Lewis the other day, and he was just and Brian Mateo from Club Orange said a similar thing, which was like Brian DeMint had said he thinks when inflation is at single digit, basically inflation per month. So when someone, here in the West or something like that, you're dealing with single digit inflation, or sorry, maybe it was double-digit inflation. I'm trying to think, but it was probably like 5 to 10% inflation a month type of thing. Or then Parker had said, hey, when you go, and so different times, but they were saying similar things. So different people coming to the same conclusion of like, hey, when the stake is $7 this month, and then it's $7.50 next month, and then it's $8 the following month, and you're seeing that happen. And then Parker also said that once he thinks of the 1 in 20 people grokking Bitcoin in the world, that's when the iceberg flips. That's when you have the suddenly moment of the currency, matched with the loss of trust in the currency itself, obviously flipping. So I think it kind of plays out, like those numbers kind of make sense, at least, just generally in your head, where you're kind of like, yeah, like I could see that, because it just, why else? Like it's the input. And that's like the talk that Parker had given recently about the asymmetry on the Unchained site a couple months ago. He'd given that talk, and he talks about the, Bitcoin being a necessity, not a luxury. Now I lost my train of thought, but anyway, it's a phenomenal talk. It's only 30 minutes long, but he goes through the whole thing, and it's very simplistic in its approach. But this is that's what it was, the input. Like everyone just assumes the input of money. Like it's the finance bros, like going to school for this. And one of you guys said something a few minutes ago that made me think of that, which is just assuming that the accounting mechanism is correct. And no one thinks to like, okay, what is this mechanism we're using to account for all of the shenanigans, like everything that's going on? It's like no one accounts for that. It's just like we're just training people to go off to war. No one's here's your musket, here's your helmet, here's the bulletproof vest. No one says like, hey, why are we at war though? It's like no one thought to be like, what are we doing this for? And that's what it's so, like you said, Ben, it's so like frustrating, because you the mental fortitude and emotional fortitude you have to just keep taking the beating every day, all in. You're crazy, you're a psychopath, relentless, just objections, FUD, just everything. It's just it's wild.
It's crazy. We often talk about how people are going to come to Bitcoin, whether it's like you made this comment of like 1 in 20 actually grokking it, and we come usually from like a place of pain and discomfort. And especially seeing all the recent FUD and victory laps on Bitcoin taking a dive right now. I'm increasingly skeptical that people will necessarily be able to get it, at least this generation. Like, again, it goes back to the fish and water, trying to explain water to them, right? Now for the coming generations, I think it'll be a lot easier, starting from more of like a blank slate in terms of their understanding of how monetary systems and even just, you know, daily commerce actually works. But I think it will have to come from a place of pain, where it's not that they finally understand Bitcoin, it's that everything else hurts so much they'll just give it a try. Because I think that most people are they're already struggling enough that they don't have the bandwidth to try and go and learn something else new, which is almost preventing them from actually not struggling anymore. It's like this terrible catch-22 that it is going to be, Brandon, to your point, like when we see month-over-month inflation of like 5 to 10%, or even it's almost like it has to reach the point where the risk of you and your family not eating exceeds the risk of you trying to overthrow the government, which I'm not in any way calling for violence on YouTube, but I'm saying like that's the point in time where like, all right, well, I'm screwed either way. I might as well just throw the Hail Mary. And it's so... The nice thing is that like we have people in these, like, we're not even really in a bear market, but there's so much building going on at any given time that should that moment arise and should people actually want to give it a chance, the infrastructure is there. Like I see people trying to be like, oh, you can't use Bitcoin on a daily basis. And I just watch Ben go around and dunk on him and be like, I have been for years. It's quite easy. It works quite well. And it's getting easier and faster and better every day. Like Ben, you just dropped like, it was 2 tutorials this week that basically cover everything that you need to do in Bitcoin.
Yeah, pretty much. And before I touch on it, a couple things that just stand out to me. Number one, you mentioned, where does inflation have to be? I mean, people were feeling it when it was like 7, 8, 9% stated, which was actually far higher. But the crazy thing is that they will still feel like they can't afford. I mean, look at Canada.
Yep.
Look at Canada. We just
take a good look.
We just voted in the guy that was the financial advisor to Trudeau for a decade, is now our prime minister, 2-time central banker, both Bank of England and Bank of Canada, head of both central banks, and now running our economy. At like affordability here is horrendous, but the headline that gets trumpeted out is, look at this, inflation is down. And it's like, okay, well, and people don't understand what that means. They're not like, oh, prices are coming. They think prices are coming down. It's like, no, things are getting more expensive less fast. That's it. And they don't realize it. And so, like, to your point, I think people are too fucking stupid to know that what is going to actually fix anything, and that where the problem is actually emanating from. And so there's that. Now, that said, you're right. Things are getting far easier for those that want to hone in on this. The tutorials you're talking about from this week, one was Bull Bitcoin Wallet, basically like all in one. You can do Lightning and Liquid, like your fast transactions. You can have on chain. You can link hardware and manage your cold storage from there. If you're in a jurisdiction that actually has the exchange, you can do it all in one in the same app, and it goes directly to self-custody, all that kind of stuff. So there's like pretty much the gamut of basic Bitcoin ownership in an app, which before didn't really exist, at least in a convenient way. And now it's starting to become the norm, where all this stuff is getting baked into a singular package, and Bull's just an excellent example of it. But secondly, I then showed with the exact same app, oh, you want to be a merchant? Let's link it to BTC Pay Server. And it is 2 copy and pastes so that you can receive on-chain and you can receive your Lightning payments, and then you just launch a store. And so then it all goes either immediately into your Lightning wallet or into your cold storage if you want, or whatever. But then you can just launch it. And so then it's full self-custody from the get-go for a merchant. You can make it into a point-of-sale terminal. You can make it into an online store carton with a cart or whatever. It can be a donation button, whatever it is. But it's the gamut of everything you really need as a person using Bitcoin day to day, saving it and accepting it as a merchant and spending it, whatever it is. That's it. I mean, there's some additional things like planning for inheritance and stuff like that, but like the basic day-to-day usage is all there. Yeah, so it's never been easier. I actually had a comment. Somebody tagged me in a thread earlier. There was this guy talking about how Lightning is an interesting concept, but it's been out since 2018 and nobody's using it, and da 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 da. And people are just going to use Solana and Litecoin for that. I was like,
yeah, the Litecoin pumping I've seen recently is just like, no, guys, they're all dead. They're all shitcoins that are going to zero. But that one in particular is like, really, you're gonna try and revive Litecoin? The founder walked on that one.
So the first guy was talking about how. Yeah. The first guy was talking about how it's just so impossible to use. It's so difficult. And he's like, I'm technically savvy, and like I have no idea. I was like, given you're technically savvy, I imagine you can download an application and hit receive. And then I had responded being like, I've been living on Bitcoin since 2020. I use Bitcoin every single day. I've hosted a local market with 50 merchants and a few hundred people coming through spending during one of the fee spikes, and nobody noticed because they're all using Lightning wallets, and a bunch of them were new and they were all able to onboard. Furthermore, my 8-year-old daughter went through there with her Lightning wallet and had no problems. So give it a whirl. And then after I dropped all that, being like, it's actually easy. Okay, download this, hit receive, type in an amount, and then send me the address. It's been crickets, except for then somebody afterwards was like, yeah, but that can't possibly scale because da 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 da. And I was like, they said you need to increase the block size and all. And I was like, am I being pulled into a block size debate in the year of our Lord 2026?
It's coming up on a decade since that, by the way. We're looking at a decade. And the block size debate is somehow trying to be revived. That's all psyop. I'm convinced of it. It's all just an attack on Bitcoin. It's like, well, shit, they debunked everything. What do we do? I just cycle back through old seasons. It's retro now. There's new people here. They don't know any better.
Exactly. Think how many new people are here now we can scam. That's it.
Yes, 100%.
Weird. So like really quick, because like this is something that's just like one of my big bugaboos, and it's mindset, right? And it's like we can sit here, Ben can do a tutorial, Nathan, like you can show. I mean, I can sit here and show 2 + 2 = 4 and all the properties of money and how Bitcoin fits this better than like we can do all this. But it's like you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, and it's just like mindset. So like. How many people? There's a lot of people that I'm sure you guys get too, where they're like, I get it. I get everything you're saying. I'm actually on board with all that. But government will do this. But government, whatever. And it's like, it's such like this mind, fuck that people have that like they don't have agency in their life. They can't even choose the money to use. And it's like, you're just sitting here like waiting for people to lock arms. 1% of people would be like, all right, let's jump together. And like, what are they going to do? Nope. Like you look around like, nope. Like even the people that get it are like, nope, I don't get it. Even some Bitcoiners, they're like, well, I don't know.
I'll tell you what it is. I know exactly what it is. Okay. Stay with me here. It's skim milk and cornflakes. That is the whole damn problem that we have right now. And I say that kind of like, what is it? Like
low T, translating for those of you in Rio Linda.
That's basically it. By the way, if you've never gone back to the history of Kellogg's and Dr. Kellogg, that's the one.
Yeah,
if you've never gone back to the history of Dr. Kellogg, what a messed up individual who like really screwed with all the nutritional information. It's all complete garbage. And the whole like cornflakes thing, that came out of because he was using basically like the skimmed off from cream combined with like cornmeal to feed his pigs. And he noticed it made them docile. Right, that was the whole. It made him less virile and docile.
Brandon,
you have a good thought.
Brandon, do you know why cornflakes exist?
I don't. Specifically, cornflakes. No.
Okay, so there was basically a doomsday cult, and this story is going to be so crazy, and you'll be like, this can't possibly be real.
Seventh-day Adventist, I think.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church. And they believed that the world was going to end, and then they set a date, and it came and went, and they were like, "Oh, whoops!" And then
that was close.
Yeah, the leader was like, "Actually, the end of days is already upon us, and we just don't see it, and so we need to purify mind and body." And one of the major things in doing so was she believes that there's a major problem with men with excessive testosterone. And part of the problem was that they were doing a lot of this too much.
Unreal.
And she's like, okay, so we need to fix that. And so what we need to do is lower their testosterone by changing their eating habits. And the norm back then was breakfast was eggs and bacon and like sausage and stuff like that. And she was like, we got to get rid of that. It's making all these men too manly. And so she went to somebody and was like, we need a replacement for breakfast that is completely devoid of all of that horrible meat and protein. What could we possibly pump into these people that will just not have any of that good nutrition and kill their testosterone? And she said, Dr. Kellogg, could you perhaps make something for me? And the Kellogg brothers, I suppose. And thus cornflakes were born. And so think about that the next time you pour yourself a nice big bowl of testosterone killing cornflakes that are now filled with sugar to give you an additional gut on that. Read Fiat Food by Matthew Leshak. I was screaming at the pages as I was reading it. I could not believe how corrupt the food system is. And that's just one of the stories that sounds like I just pulled it out of my ass. Look it up. It's true.
Yep, it's absolutely crazy to say the word, but to your point, it's made us all docile and weak and not aggressive, and that's a bit of a problem because men should be defending out their community, their family, their tribe, everything. And it's funny because if you think that we're crazy, just go stop by your local Starbucks, right? Especially one on the West Coast. Go take a stop at a Starbucks on the West Coast and ask me if the men there are looking very, very virile, very masculine, very strong. And there's so many of these little cliches that end up having a not even a grain of truth, like just a whole bunch, like a whole Uncle Ben's basket of truth going on there. Even things like look at the hipster culture, right? And its love of IPA beers. Well, hops is a phytoestrogen as well too. So no surprises there. Literally, your food is poisoning you. Your TV is poisoning your mind. It's making you mad at the wrong person. That's why we're just sitting here on the sidelines going guys, the answer is unbelievably easy. But for them to step out of the norms, it's over feminized culture. It's it's not doable.
Yeah. No, it is. It's just, it's the Matrix. Yeah, you got to be careful with your Matrix analogies. I guess they get overused at times, but it is. It's just like the people hopelessly inert in the system, fighting to, you're the psychopath. Even Judge Napolitano, there was a quote at the beginning of his YouTube channel or his show that he's just like, it's dangerous to be right in a time when your government's wrong, right? And it's like, it makes me think of, eugenics movement, all this stuff that, again, just the history of we're trying to make the perfect people and whatever it is, Freemasonry, all these different groups of people that I think they are high. They're the select people on earth. And they're going to control all of you. We're too dumb to know what's going on. We're going to create the perfect human being. We're going to kill off and abort the ones that aren't right and to their standards. Whoever standards those are. We're going to adjudicate what's right. I mean, it's a wild, wild time we live in, and that's what people are waking up to. It's just, it is really insane. It goes back to, again, the mindset thing, everything you guys were talking about. I have not heard that the Kellogg story because I've not read Fiat Food yet. I know the general sense of everything. My brother-in-law 15 years ago, he was he worked and was athletic trainer for a bunch of minor league baseball teams and stuff like that. And him, years ago, we were talking about, he's like, oh yeah, the food pyramid's upside down and all this stuff. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't really know 15 years ago. I was, pro athlete, and I still didn't even know. I just eat protein. I would just general sense, right, and take care of my body, that type of thing, and knew a bunch of that type of stuff and working out, whatever. But he's like, oh yeah, the food pyramid's upside down, and it's incredible to see how far we come, though. Zooming out, how much, again, 20 years ago, if you would have told me where we would be today, I wouldn't have believed you. The wealthiest guy in the world, I don't care what side he's on, whatever side he is on, it's he's out there actually saying the conspiracy theories, the things that were just completely taboo 20 years ago, the Fiat Food, the books, all the things we have now, and social media, people talking about this stuff. I would have laughed you out of the room 20 years ago because that was so taboo to talk about any of this and so outside the purview of the average person. So directionally, we are going the right way. So I know it is we all get blackpilled. I get blackpilled at times, and you're just what the hell, to Ben's point, you're doing this for years, and you're just oh my gosh, what is going on? But directionally, when we zoom out, we are going the right way. So that does give me great hope.
No, completely agree. It's the by the way, for standards on euthanizing, look to Canadian government. They're the best on that. They've become pros in killing people. So if you want to know the standards there, we got that there as well too.
What's the stat, Nate? How many? Oh, it's 1 in.
Unreal.
It's 1 in 20. No, sorry, it's a little closer to 1 in 5. It was 18% of Canadian deaths came from medical assistance in death,
insanity.
where the state kills you. The state kills you.
Unreal.
Yeah, I just saw something too that they're proposing made for ill babies, which is just like a whole other.
Makes sense.
Well, welcome to Canada.
It's literally post-birth abortion. They just found a sneaky way to put it in. It's like, look, we've been killing these teenagers and that are depressed and these old people for so long here. We got to step it up. We need some more organs to harvest and a little more adrenochrome. So maybe we should look at, can we do post-birth abortion? No, give it a new title. We'll call it Made for Babies.
Yeah.
It's gotten absolutely crazy. But Brandon, there is a silver lining, because to your point on like things have, I think, gotten better, at least for us in terms of getting access to better information. It was from the birth of the internet, right? Regardless of the fact that it was created by basically, what was it, DARPA, that genie's out of the bag, and they're still trying to clamp down, and they will continue to clamp down. Like we're seeing the age restrictions, I think in the UK and Australia, other places as well too. But the decentralization of access to information, just like the printing press, has had like a profound effect, and it will continue to, because information ultimately wants to be free. And that's why we're so gung-ho on Bitcoin, because it's the same thing now applied to money, right? If we can remove this from a single power source, then we can actually take off. And Ben, I'm sure you have some to add there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Bitcoiners are plugged into a lot of the stuff that will preserve society in a way that is
Rebuild it.
Yeah, rebuild it, and you know, it's funny when they first started talking about this idea of the remnant, and it was like Francis and Svetsky and stuff. I don't know that I was super plugged into it, and now I'm seeing it more and more. I'm like, holy crap, that is probably the way it's going to turn out, where there's going to be a subset of the population that's like, oh crap, this is the problem. We need to address it. And, you know, some people just don't want to hear it. They don't want to be convinced of it. And they're
not ready to be unplugged. You say they're not ready to be unplugged? They're too old?
They are heavy into the blue pills. So
much it dyes their hair.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Oh my God. I was always wondering why the blue hair. What happened? I mean, I'm in zero position to criticize hair, but I was just curious about the origins.
Oh man.
No.
Man, even to that point, it's like, and I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think it's why these conversations that we're having right now and the people hanging out on the stream, God love you. Thank you for being here. You're wonderful people. Smash like, all that fun stuff. Go check out that interview with Parker Lewis. I watched it while cleaning the kitchen. It was great. Did it slow down my ability to clean the kitchen? Yes, it did. Was my wife a little bit annoyed? Totally was, but I got it done and I had a good time doing it. Is that we are approaching, to the earlier point of Ray Dalio, we're approaching the end of something. It's going to be super chaotic, and something else is going to come out of it. And so we have an opportunity here to actually be a part of the conversation, to have a seat at the table, to try and actually learn the lessons of how we got here in the first place and rebuild something better. It's not going to be easy. I see someone smash the like button. Thank you. It's not going to be easy, but it's important that we talk about money, philosophy, family, health, leadership, community, all these things, to spread this message out as far and wide as we can, because shit's gonna get crazy. Like we recently had a Why Are We Bullish with Francis Pouliot and Dave Bradley, and Joey was on there as well too. Wonderful Joey, love that man. Maybe we'll see him later this week. It was a phenomenal show, but something that Francis said regarding the Alberta independence, I think that's actually going to happen. I think it's very emblematic of what's actually going on in the world, that we have this rise of populism. People are fed up and they're starting to look for options out of it. But he made a comment, kind of an offhanded comment about, like, if we get the referendum, that he's coming back to Alberta, because how wild would it be to build a country with my friends? And I went, that's actually where we are right now.
Yeah.
Right. And there is someone who could be watching this stream right now that will be one of the founding fathers of something else. Like we always put these people up on like a pedestal, because there's elements of them to be revered and to take for guidance and inspiration and to look for how to behave and how to act in the world. But we're going to need new ones, right? We're going to need new founding fathers, new leaders, new builders, new communities. And so we want to make sure that at least we can do our very best to go like, hey, maybe don't fuck with the money this time. Maybe this time we just leave it alone. Maybe we don't just use force on everybody and try to build this giant global empire while stripping everybody at home and just destroying families and giving no opportunities to the youth and children coming up, or they can't afford a home or afford reproduction. Maybe we stop killing people. Like, we don't know who the next great men are going to be. And it's the go back, hard times make strong men. we're coming into some seriously hard times, and there's going to be some seriously strong men that are going to carry us out of this. And so I just want to make sure that they got the message that they're part of the remnant, to Ben's point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true. And it makes me think of, the remnant, and speaking of Svesky, but his book, The Bushido of Bitcoin, and it's a phenomenal book, right? And kind of talk about the future, like future pacing. Like, yeah, this is what we're going to need, and that's how Bitcoiners think in general. That's why we're here, and we're going to need those people. And that's the thing that I think that people are coming around to that and starting to see that, like you said, the founding fathers or refounding fathers, whatever it is. But like even just in general, I think there's so many people out there that I think about this a fair amount, where just doing what we do every single day for years on end, a lot of us talking about it, doing tutorials, et cetera, right? And everyone's got their own way of doing things. But it's like, you just don't know, like that one right person that needs to be orange pilled, that is the next George Washington type of person, right? Like, is that they are that person, and all of a sudden it spurs something in them, they change, and then they go on and orange pill 1 million people, or they become some person that, like, you just, and they're out there, like that will happen. So like, Saylor is one of those types of people to a degree, right? Where it's like he all of a sudden gets orange pilled, and boom, like the effect he has now, and that's going to happen again and again and again going forward at people at levels much bigger than that, and that's what's coming.
I think you make an interesting point, and I think also this brings out something in terms of effectively using one's time when it comes to teaching people about Bitcoin. And that is, you have a limited amount of time. You want Bitcoin. Well, I mean, I believe Bitcoin's going to succeed, but I want to help usher that in quicker if possible. And so what is effective? Is effective trying to orange pill people that are combative and angry and are trying to pull you into arguments? Is that an effective way of using one's time? Or is it most effective to go to the people that are most ideologically aligned, but maybe missing the information? They just haven't been exposed to the right information yet, and saying, hey, like, I noticed we both think this way about this topic and how the world works and everything. I'd love you to watch this or read this or listen to this and let me know what you think about it. And in an inquisitive way, because then it doesn't feel like you're pushing something on somebody, you're asking their opinion on something. And I think that not only is the hit rate, the success rate going to be much higher, but your time is just, you're actually using your time effectively instead of sinking it into people that, I think even if they saw that you may be right, they would be so combative, they would actively fight against what you were championing for, because they don't want it. Even if they see that it's coming, they will say, I want to slow this down. So I think that's kind of when you're talking about like orange pilling the certain types of people that can really push this thing forward, with me and Nathan here in Alberta, and the whole idea of the sovereign individual thesis and larger nation states kind of splitting into smaller, more locally governed ones. I think that's a place where me and Nathan get hands on with that mentality, even if it wasn't specifically like, oh, we need to do that because of this. I think inherently, just because we've been exposed to some of this other material, it's just kind of representing our beliefs through our actions and what we focus on.
Right. It's funny. I'm like sitting here half distracted because I had a few things running through my mind. One of which is like, you never know what the future is going to like turn into, the whole like butterfly effect thing. So it's got this image because like universities are totally crumbling, right? They've lost almost all credibility. Same with the medical industrial complex as well too. It's like, I wonder if in the future they won't call it class, they'll call it sessions. Like the tutorials just like live on forever. And so everyone goes to, has their, their daily session. Mm-hmm. So that made me kind of happy. The other, I'll tell you a really like weird thought that I had this morning. And I even told my wife so I can back up that it actually happened. The other fun analogy we kind of have here is like Terminator. Terminator is a fun one as well too. Because I picked up my third son today, and I love all my children equally, but I loved him especially equally today. And he's bigger than his siblings by quite a lot for some reason. I'm not that big of a guy. My wife is very small. And he was just sitting there with his mom, and he was unbelievably cute, like super, super, super cute. I was like, oh, damn, he's going to be just an absolute looker. And I had this one, I was like, I wonder if he's going to be like the libertarian John Connor, Like, I wonder if machines are going to try and come back and destroy him because he's going to lead the libertarian rebellion in the future, and he'll be the one to take over and have like 50 wives and 100 sons. And I'll be very proud of him. But like, you never know. Like, even if you don't feel like your actions have consequences in the moment, that message might impact somebody else that does, and your message still does. It also goes back to the other way that we ensure the future is by having a lot of kids and raise them on a good Bitcoin standard. Which, Brandon, I'm sure you've got a thought or two on that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was talking to Walker earlier and talking about homeschooling and all these shenanigans, right? It's ripping not only, and this is Daniel Prince, helping a lot of Bitcoiners over the last number of years, right? With homeschooling and separating education and state. That's just as important to separating money and state. It's kind of chicken or the egg in a way. We could make some debates on that. I think a lot of us fall maybe on the money side of it, but that's got to come next, and probably will. We separate money and state, and then all of a sudden here we are separating money or education and state, and really ripping that out of the hands of the government, because that's, as we know, has created a bunch of zombies the last 100+ years of doers, not thinkers. So here we are. And like you guys said earlier too, like we want less collateral damage. That's, we can, Bitcoin price, and someone mentioned in the comments even, like, right, like it's a marketing arm of Bitcoin, and it's maybe that level of education that's in the world, and that's kind of what it represents in a way. But it's like, we're here because we don't want to be burned. We don't want our family to be burned. We don't want people around us to be burned. We don't want collateral damage. Like Ben said, we want to help usher in this transition because we see what's coming. You're student of history, student of philosophy, student of all these things, and you're putting these things together, and you're like, guys, the track is out up here ahead. Like we've got to do something different here. We've got to take power, like you said, decentralize the local communities back how we were, where it was local, decentralization, and you had the ability to govern, each other at a local level instead of having someone in some far off distant castle trying to do all this. And so we're getting there. We're getting back. We are directionally correct to what everyone's saying, what we're all saying. But and to your point too, Ben, like there was someone, I've had some people over the last couple of years even that were like, again, it's like the humbling, and that's why I was thinking of all this. Like it's not an IQ test, right? Like Bitcoin is a humility ego test. That's all it is, because we can lead a horse to water. You can do all these things, but until you're ready, like I've had people, say like, well, I'm not going to buy Bitcoin. Like that, those points might be great, but like, I'm not going to buy it because like, I'm not going to enrich you, like, why would I do that? And like game theoretically,
so fiat, right? The crabs in a bucket.
So fiat. I mean, like could not be more fiat. It's like, in a sense, like I can understand that, like game theoretically, like why would I do that? Like I get that, and like having empathy and trying to have humility, like I understand what you're saying, but you're completely missing everything, right? Like you said, it's fiat, very zero sum, which is opposite of Bitcoin. But again, until you zoom away from the Titanic or pull away from it, you can't see that you're going down on the Titanic. You're still reading the newspaper clippings, and everyone's telling you things are good, and Captain's still there. Like your deck chairs, like it doesn't, you don't see it until you get away off of that onto a different protocol. And this is another one of those things too, like this world of like what you guys just said earlier. Here's a way to do all these things, but if people aren't ready, then they don't, it's like, well, government's going to do this, lazy, humans path of least resistance, all these different things where it's like, the way is there. You're just waiting for the right number of people to jump at the same time and be like, no, we're doing this. I mean, look at we're having a tax revolt at the Minnesota things. I mean, look, the last 45 days, it felt like a year has gone by already. Like you had the tax revolt, Nicholas Shirley thing, and then all of a sudden it was Maduro, and then it was ICE protests, and people are getting shot up there, and then now, it's Greenland, and then like just thing after thing after thing, where it's like how far we've even like forgot even that a little bit ago. And they did a really good job of distracting us from that really quick. So I go back to mindset at the end of the day. I will say I was thinking of, I've been reading like Soft War, Jason Lowery's, been reading like David Icke, one of the great conspiracy theorists up in the UK, and even Napoleon Hill stuff, some Scott Adams stuff. Obviously, he just passed away recently. But there's been so many people where you take these people from different sectors of the world, and the common theme that a lot of them talk about is this, power projection, but also like the mindset and the stories you tell yourself. And we're just a collection of 8 billion stories. And that's the one thing that I find myself talking to people the most about, actually, is just the mind and the mindset of, yes, I get it, Brandon, but yes, I get it, but I can't do it. Well, here, Ben and Nathan are showing you how to do it. Here's exactly how to do it. Oh, I know, but no one's using as money. Oh, the government won't let. It's like, what is happening right now? Like, it's there. So anyway,
the last thing that you said is exactly on point, but they won't let me do it, or how can I comply harder? It's like and that's it. It's like, if you're asking that, I don't know. I cannot help you if you're like, okay, if your thought is Bitcoin, I want Bitcoin to change the world, and our current system is totally corrupt. And then your next question is, how can I comply with the corrupt system while gutting it? That doesn't exist, guys. That doesn't exist. If you're asking that question, you are not, I don't want to say you're not ready, because all you need to do is decide to be ready and do it. But like, you don't change things by getting a stamp of approval of the existing system. Again, Satoshi didn't come out and say, I better check with the treasury before I roll out this white paper, right? Like, that was not how things went. It was, this exists, fucking deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, this
the signal
is
and the noise.
This is the approach. Yeah, you just got, got to drop it, and you have to just let it germinate, and you just have to let people decide how to use the tool. And then on top of that, if you're the person using the tool, you know, you're the one inherently who decides how that tool is utilized. And some people will use it simply as a savings mechanism. Unfortunately, some people will simply use it as an approved government and corporate wrapped token that is in somebody else's custody, and you just get price exposure. But other people will actually use it as a tool for sovereignty. And if you want it to be a tool for sovereignty, then you just have to go do that. And, you know, like, you have to find a way to do that. And that doesn't necessarily include, how do I perfectly do this in every single way? There's a great quote from I keep on saying this quote from Francis Pouliot.
Oh, that's a good one. Everyone lean in.
Yeah, it was.
We know it's good already.
I think it was a tweet, and he was like, if you are concerned about the capital gains incurred by buying a latte, have you tried not being a fucking pussy?
That is yes.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful
Aristotelian level quote right there.
yeah.
That's
I want that on a plaque.
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly.
Right? It should be just up behind us. Nice little placard just
Literally,
right behind us. But to your point, Ben, right? Like, I mean, if you're in a situation where you find that you're concerned about or getting the approval of evil people, maybe stop and pause for a second, right? Maybe that's not necessarily where you want to be. It's hard to stand up to the herd, though. I know that can be incredibly difficult for people. You need to only go back and look at COVID, right? And how most people will just comply.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon, to your earlier point about like how fast the news cycle is, let's not forget that, like, I don't think I've seen Bitcoin sentiment this bad. Now, I haven't been along the longest. I'm not someone who's been here since the early days, but the sentiment is absolutely tanked. The all-time high was 5 months ago. It was just 5 months ago, guys.
Maybe that's
it.
That's
right.
so
Why? Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's because it's such a stark reversal. Although I've got a question for you guys about sentiment. Yeah, we're basically, you know, more or less chopped in half from where we were, a little bit more than that. But so price is cut in half. I recently, I'd say over the past month to month and a half, have had more people ask me about onboarding to Bitcoin and learning about it than during the bull run.
Really? So I haven't seen that. I've seen, say, probably a steady flow of people that I'm working with on the consulting side. I haven't seen an uptick. I got a bunch of the Bitcoins going to zero, emails and texts coming in on the initial crash, which is always fun. But that's interesting. Like, I'm even going back to the idea that we're like in a chaotic system and it comes from a place of pain. Like, if we don't have, we'll have number go up. Number go up is the best marketing technology, and it will come back into play without a doubt. I don't even think we're in a prolonged bear market right here. But it's nice to see some inklings that people are coming in, not necessarily for the number go up side, but for the freedom go up side. Because one of the best things that Bitcoin has from it, from a price perspective, and again, we're just measuring in shitty US dollars, but bear with me, is that what changes the price? It's supply and demand. It will ultimately just be supply and demand. And Bitcoin has this beautiful cohort of psychopaths just relentlessly keep stacking and just chewing away at the available supply because they know what this is. They know where it's going. They know how important it is to the future success of humanity as a whole. And I'm not being hyperbolic at that point in time. They are committed and they are just all in. They're just all in. They will ride or die. They are good to go. And so with that eventually, even at these price levels, we'll eat through the available supply, right? We will continue just chomping away at that, and we'll start to make our way back up again. But Ben, to your point, that if you have people coming in not for the number go up, but for the freedom go up, for the censorship resistance, right? For the autonomy and the sovereignty that it gives them, those are more psychopaths. That means we're increasing the base demand of people who are just relentless stackers at any price. And that is a wonderful inkling. Brandon, I'm curious if you've seen anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have not necessarily similar to you, Nathan. Probably a similar experience. People, just concerned. I would say people around me, I guess, are just wondering. They're kind of like, hey, like what's going on with Bitcoin, stuff like that, and they're just looking for reassurance. So that's good to see. Actually, people not freaking out, at least in my sphere, which is nice. So that's good. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, man, I think of like. Just Gigi. I was going back and reading some old stuff, Bitcoin is time, stuff like that. And just kind of these are, again, if people are in this now and there's their first, real big dip or whatever, go back, know what you believe and believe what you know. Go back, reconvict yourself. Again, watch the sessions, watch the tutorials. Go read some books. Get like, why were you in this for the first place? And if those things haven't changed, which we know currently right now they haven't changed. Nothing's changed. The properties of Bitcoin are still there. It's still running exactly as intended, and that's what we need to know at the end of the day. But go reconvict yourself. So just doing some of those things, understanding that, hey, this is where the puck is headed, as the great Canadian Wayne Gretzky once said. Right, where's the puck going? And that end of the day, do we think we're going backward or forward in society? Gold is analog Bitcoin. Like, do we think we're going back into this world where we're going to be, I was talking with this Walker, like if you're going to tell me we're going to live in just, our teepees and just like a local community and just like 100 of us, okay, then you know what? Gold and silver is great. Like maybe we're going backwards in society. A solar flare hits us or an asteroid hits us and a couple of us make it and we were just taking little teepees. Okay. And like, in all seriousness, but like, if we're going to have a global economy or we're going to have any economy where like, the boys here in Alberta or something like that, and I'm in Michigan, and we're going to actually have a real economy where no one controls, there's only, going back to the Gigi thing, there's physical tokens and a ledger. And if you're going to have a global economy, you need a ledger. You cannot have physical tokens. We've seen for thousands of years that doesn't work. It always descends into honeypots, to chaos, and you're stealing your time and energy through centralized entities. So you're telling me then the only option then is a ledger. But how do we make sure it's immutable? Bitcoin solved that, right? Bitcoin, it was the discovery of that and putting all that together finally for the first time in human history. So to me, like, again, it's just a signal in all the noise. I go back to like Paul Tudor Jones, Druckenmiller. These guys figured it out years ago. Like, these guys are psychopaths. They're never selling. Like, to your point, Nathan, right? Like the people that get Bitcoin aren't selling. They're just going to keep buying more. So you're always going to have the rising of the floor always over time, the lower or the higher lows and the higher highs. Always over time. So, and again, and on top of that, the last thing I'll say is I was talking to Samson and Caitlin Long lately again, and they're like, yeah, like there's definitely shenanigans going on. There's absolutely like people are doing stupid stuff, but the beauty of Bitcoin is it's an auditing machine. These people will blow themselves up eventually, and society learns like, oh shit, we FTX ourselves again, and more people learn, and they're like, we got to stop doing this so much. Chase Bank, they'll be gone, or someone will do something ridiculous, and then see ya, and then society learns. There's no bailouts in Bitcoin, so they will learn. They will learn.
Agreed. Ben, before you jump in there, I just want to point out, because you said great Canadian and it made me think of this. You want to know how bad Canada is doing right now? We were at the Winter Olympics and got 0 gold. Now, in all fairness, I didn't watch or give a shit because it wasn't Alberta at the Winter Olympics, but still, that's how bad Canada has fallen. Ben.
Yeah, I was just, when I was listening to Brandon here, you're like, the world, you need a ledger. And I was like, for a second, I was like, don't get a ledger.
Not that ledger.
Not that ledger. But do get hardware. Hardware is good. Lots of options out there. Maybe
good clarification.
Yeah,
good clarification. Great call on that. Holy cow. Yeah, no, man, oh man, we're going for an hour, boys. Holy cow.
Yep.
Incredible stuff. This is Carney cursed us. Oh man.
After
that's
Trudeau
a whole nother
raped
can of
us.
worms. Well, yeah, but like the Carney thing, just still, I'll never I get why it happened, because it is Carney and he's the central banker guy, but like just how it came about, man.
It was
wild.
Kellogg's. Go back to Kellogg's, right? It's stupid at this point in time how they could flip the entire like eastern provinces for the more or less and bees, everything except Alberta. How they could
also, can we just appreciate the fact that new polling is showing that if they pull a snap election, because they can do the existing government can do an election whenever they want. If they pull an election right now, he will win a large majority.
it gets even worse. Is
Yeah.
how unbelievably trapped these people are.
I want it to happen. I want it to. It's perfect, because what greater fuel to the fire for Alberta separation than a spring election right now? A massive majority Liberal government after 10 years of absolute destruction, and then we vote for more of it, and that's really gonna rile up. Like it will be the. I think that's the nail in the coffin. I think that would be the perfect, absolute chef's kiss to this moment in time. That, you know what? There's a group of Bitcoiners out east in Ontario, and they call themselves the accelerationists. They're all accelerate, like get the worst possible thing in there so that we can just implode the system. And before I was kind of like, well, no, I mean, Polyev is like, he's into Bitcoin. That could be great. I think that'd be, no, fuck it, burn it all down. It's like, full on majority Liberal government. Put the central banker in charge of everything. Shut it all down. Shut down the pipelines. Torch every deal. Go get in bed with Xi Jinping. All of the stuff. Do all of the things, please. Do it harder and faster. I would love it. Love it. Do it. Please.
Oh my gosh. It's unreal. Speaking of low T, did you guys see the clip of Keir Starmer trying to hit a punching bag in the
No,
I did not.
Oh my gosh. You guys gotta go. You gotta find this. It's like, I don't know if I have it somewhere, but you just like, I literally tweet, I don't know who it was some viral clip. It was like he's trying to hit a heavy bag, and I was like, is this serious? Like, was this AI? And there was a bunch of people like, no, it's serious. Like, it's real. I was like, oh my goodness. The guy might not have any T. Like, there might be 0 T actually after you watch this. So yeah, it's just, the one thing I'll say, while Nathan is furiously trying to look this up, I know he is. The one thing I will say is I went down, so after the first year, I went down the rabbit hole of like, just trying to watch everyone, people on the left, people on the right, gold bugs, macro guys, professors like the John Mearsheimers and Jeffrey Sachs, who are like, Jay Carney I taught him at Columbia, like guys on every spectrum, like geopolitical guys, the Judge Napolitanos, I mean, you name it. And the one thing I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that everyone's got a different opinion on everything that's going on, the multipolar order and international rules. Trump's an idiot. Trump's the best thing in the world. I mean, everyone, every angle. And the 99%, and just to like break out the echo chamber, the Bitcoin echo chamber, 99% of what these people were all bitching about and talking about was and is fixable by Bitcoin. It was pretty astounding. So going back to this reconviction thing of like, know what you believe and believe what you know, reconvict yourself. You go through, like, do the homework, like go put 10, 20 hours in watching people. And like, some of it was hard to listen to. Like, there's some people that you vehemently disagree with. And it was like, actually, like, you could feel it. And it was like, it's very weird, but it's like a cathartic thing, because then you're watching people. And I will say this too, 99% of what people are saying generally is, and I've had this thought since I was a kid, people generally want freedom. Like most people, especially in the West, understanding it, and they want it, but they all differ on how to get there. And it's generally because the red versus blue, the politics, pop culture, thinking, placing you at odds with each other and what fiat does. But it was so just enlightening and astounding to just really reconfirm that. And I haven't done that exercise in years. And it was, oh my gosh, all this is fixed by the money and just churning off that spigot up here, contaminating the whole river downstream. It was an unbelievable exercise that I wish everyone could do, because it was so profound. And anyway, so that was a quick thought just to help people's reconviction, I guess.
Amazing. Also, I'm looking at this video.
I found it. I was trying to share my screen.
God, that is why it makes a whole lot of sense that the guy beside him also has a
mask on.
It's like the perfect juxtaposition of,
you can't make this stuff up.
Amazing.
I posted it in the chat if you need it. Yeah, I'm trying to share it right now.
Okay.
If not, I got it in the chat there as well.
Oh my gosh.
Let me try and share again. Beep.
There's another guy. So I don't know if I mentioned this while you're putting that in there. I got to try to get a hold of this guy. So I mentioned the Charlie Kirk thing. Oh, there it is. So there's this guy that got really big. He's there you go.
Ready for this, guys? Remember, Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's it. Try and breathe. Relax.
Well, he definitely had his cornflakes that morning.
It was Wheaties and cornflakes.
Can we call him Keir Sarmer because he has no T?
I love it.
Kiki
I love it.
Sarmeyer. Kiki Sarmeyer. That's a. Oh boy, that's unbelievable. But I'm gonna try to get. There's this guy that got really big in the last 5 months since the Charlie Kirk thing, and he's been on Candace's own show now and stuff like that, and he's been having a ton of people. I mean, literally, his show is blown up, huge. Has hundreds of thousands of subscribers now on YouTube, and he gets hundreds of thousands per episode that he does live stream, like breaking down everything with like where's Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk's car and like the shooter and all this stuff, right? And so, but they've been like getting into Bitcoin here and there, and he unfortunately really doesn't know what he's talking about, thinks the Epstein stuff is real, kind of. He's like, I'm gonna do a whole show on Bitcoin. Like I thought it was a thing, but now it's not. So anyway, I'm trying to reach out to him. I'm gonna have to get, you two gentlemen or something like that. We're gonna try to figure this out. But I think he's going on Jimmy Dore's show this week. He's been on there. He's been on Candace's show. He's an attorney. He's got like 8 kids. He's an attorney, really smart dude. But these are those things where it's like, you just don't know, right? Obviously is very good at what he does, but has, knows so much that isn't so. So he's, Galman amnesia. He's like going the wrong way here a little bit. So it's like, okay, if we can course correct people like that, where they have a following, people look at them and people are asking about Bitcoin, and he's not a Bitcoin expert, yet people are asking him like, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, it's like, holy cow, guys. Like, what are we doing here? Like, how come? It's just, so that's how you're going in the right direction, when Bitcoiners aren't in those positions, because the endless FUD and things, which is also wild, like the energy FUD. Sorry, I'm tangenting a little bit, and then all of a sudden quantum just immediately, Epstein, all this stuff just swoops right in all of a sudden to replace all this. And it's like, how come we're not asking any question of the existing system at all? The dollar never gets questioned. None of this ever happens, but it's totally fine. Bitcoin over here, oh yeah, we're just going to mercilessly beat it into the ground. So
yeah.
It was planned and coordinated.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild watching the amount of, again, it's comforting knowing that all of the FUD is BS, like going through and being like, oh man, this is just a repeat of the playbook from previous cycles, and anything that's like quote unquote new is almost immediately disprovable if you take more than half a second to look past a headline. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. It like none of this has any bearing. Again, the whole who created Bitcoin thing actually fully doesn't matter, and I hope we never know, because it will be used exactly like it's erroneously being used right now. Oh, Epstein created it. Again, not so. But or like, oh, funded it or whatever, like all of the stuff that you can dive into there, it would be like, imagine if Epstein funded the internet. Would that change anything? No.
Exactly.
If Epstein created the automobile, would people be like, I mean, there's a back door to this thing somewhere. Fucking pull apart the car and look at the parts. Like learn how to
somewhere.
Look at the internal combustion engine and understand how it works. And then if you see a problem, you can address the problem. But like you're looking at what if this bad person was associated? I've got fucking news for you. Tons of bad people have been associated with Bitcoin, but tons more have been associated with the legacy financial system. Mm-hmm. And so if the money works, good and bad people are going to use it. And the thing that is most difficult to grapple with, and again, shout out to Jeff Booth for bringing this to first saying this and articulating it so well. One of the hardest things about Bitcoin is understanding and being okay with the fact that your enemy being able to use it means that it is stronger and better for you. And that's a hard thing for a lot of, everybody's so polarized that they're like, if this person is doing this, I cannot like it. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's funny. One of the things I wanted to pull there too is what who is Satoshi and quantum FUD. I would absolutely love it if one day someone was actually able to pick up Satoshi's coins and move them and spend them and get rid of them and take them. Would it nuke the price? Yeah, probably. But again, I don't really care about that all so much. But I feel like that's the only thing that's left to finally put to rest. Like if those coins are somehow actually like someone is able to sign for them, that's not Satoshi that was able to grab them, then that legend is done, right? It's over, right? There's no proving who Satoshi was without that ability anymore. So that actually gets pulled away. Those coins are no longer dormant. Somebody else takes them, sells them, don't care. Then we can finally at least stop arguing over who Satoshi is, because you'll never be able to prove it from that point forward.
Can you imagine if there was FUD over who holds the gold? What if this one country had like most of the gold? Oh my God.
They could just dump it on the market.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Actually, it's a wonderful point. Yeah.
Assets.
Yeah. We have the centralization risk in gold. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that not the ongoing thing right now?
It's so, and that's where like I'm very, I don't think anyone can knock me off this ledge. Like I think a lot of the Bitcoin FUD that we see, I think it's state level driven. I think it's nation states that FUD and fund the FUD and propagate it. The bots, agents, of the states, or whatever. And it could be it could be Russia, China, America, whatever. It doesn't, whatever it is, they're using.
What if it's Epstein from Israel? Epstein putting out the Epstein FUD.
They're using, again, crypto guys. And we know FBI's created their own coins. I mean, we know these things to be true. Like these are confirmed things, but it's like the level to be able to create FUD for this long and to dupe the people who are looking for answers. It could only be infinite currency printers that can do things of that level, that magnitude for 17 straight years and just continue propagating this. Because again, some of it's mindset, like we said earlier, we've talked through this from that angle. But at the same time, when you have endless FUD coming from these different realms where like no one's questioning the existing thing that's robbing them, but yet you're so vehemently against this one thing. No, it's Bitcoin. Like the Bitcoin's the problem, and it's just like it's wild. It really is wild. Agreed. Also, to your guys' point though. Again, we got bad news. There's a lot of like medicines, a lot of things in the world we know and we use them now because of really heinous things that have happened in life. Just FYI. So whether it was like, what happened during, in Dachau 100 years ago, things like people testing another human being. I mean, like go on and on and on. These are things that we know, like the guys coming over from Germany as well. And like, oh, there's the rocket program now in the United States. Like all these things are documented. Like we know these things to be true. So I guess you can't use a lot of the things we use in life now because they started from, humans were tortured because of it or something bad happened. And that's how it was invented or discovered. So I guess, that there we go.
Your anatomy textbooks, those have a dark history as well too.
Right. It's just incredible stuff. And by the way, the guy, so the one guy is Baron Coleman actually on YouTube, by the way. So we're gonna try to get in touch with Baron. We're gonna have to try to do something with him. And because he seems like a really good dude and just needs a little bit of guidance. That's all. Yep. So anyway, if people are watching though and people see this later on, go to Baron Coleman's YouTube though and tell him to talk to Ben, to BTC Sessions, to Nathan. Come talk to us. Come, let us know, go badger him a little bit, nicely, kind-heartedly, but just tell him, hey, you need some Bitcoin experts? We got them. So,
right, I'm going to have to check him out.
So check him out. And he'll go on and do a live stream, and then he'll answer supers for like an hour or two. And he'll have tons of people come on, going down these rabbit holes on the, whatever. So, it's a lot of stuff that makes sense. Like you get it and you kind of see it and you're like, yeah, it's great. Like it makes sense. But like, how do we stop these things in the future, guys? And that's the Bitcoiner question, right? Like, cool guys, like this is great. These are great questions, but we need you smart people worrying about how do we close this spigot, the oil spill spigot, the downstream stuff. Who cares? Like that'll get figured out once we turn off the oil spill up top at the top of the stream. So amazing stuff, guys. Anything else you guys want to touch on here?
I mean, this is a great convo. Thanks for having me on. It's been wow.
Absolutely. Many more things here, many more collaborations, all these things, much more in the future here. I think this is the future, like it's Bitcoiners coming together. There's really a new era, I think, over the last year or so. That's why these downturns are fun too, because then new things come out of it. Collaborations and a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing. And I think now all of us, all the Bitcoin content creators going forward, you can see a big sea change over the last, 6 months at least. And it's good. It's all for the good.
Yeah.
Nope, agreed. I'd say I only had a shameless plug. I got episode with Dr. Colin coming out tomorrow. Where we go down deep rabbit holes, many of them for almost 3 hours. It was a very long conversation, and we talk about everything. I mean everything, and the darkest stuff. Ben, what do you got coming out this week?
Well, there's gonna be we've got something new going on Wednesday, so you'll have to pop by the channel to see what's up. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. It's Why Are We Bullish is it will return from time to time when I feel like doing a show, but I've been doing it for years now, and felt like a change of pace, something a little bit new, and yeah. So if you're curious what will be in the place of Why Are We Bullish, then you better swing by the channel and see. Yeah. So come check it out, Brandon.
I might just have to do that.
Okay. Awesome.
Beauty. Love it.
Appreciate you guys so much. Ben, Nathan, you guys are awesome. Great to be in the trenches with you. And all of you guys here in the chat too. We didn't really get to much of this stuff today. I know we did a lot of people, not a lot of questions today. It was a lot of people just being like, F yeah. So it was a lot of that. It was a good one. So that's awesome. Great stuff. Appreciate you boys. Go check all that stuff out. BTC Sessions channel. And we will see you guys here in a few days, one way or another. So appreciate you boys.
All right. Cheers.
Later, friends.
Cheers, guys.